भगवान संस्थापकाचार्य से गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताय गौर प्रेम। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 15. Chapter 15 is entitled Parshurama, the Lord's Warrior Incarnation. Warrior means fighter. Kshatriya. Text number 12. Sa cha abhut sumahat punya. Sa cha abhut sumahat punya. Sa cha abhut sumahat punya. Kaushiki lokapavani. Kaushiki lokapavani. Kaushiki lokapavani. Reno sutang renukam vai. Reno sutam renukam vai. Reno sutam renukam vai. Jamadagnir uvaha yam. Jamadagnir uvaha yam. Jamadagnir uvaha yam. Sacha bhut sumahat punya. Kaushiki lokapavani. Reno sutam renukam vai. Jamadagnir uvahayam. Sacha bhut sumahat punya. Kaushiki lokapavani. Reno sutam renukam vai. Jamadagnir uvahayam. Chabhut sumahat punya. Kaushiki lokapavani. Renukam vai. Jamadagnir uvahayam. Sacha bhut sumahat punya. Kaushiki lokapavani. Reno sutam renukam vai. Jamadagnir uvahayam. Sacha Bhutsu Mahat Punya Kaushiki Lokapavani Reno Sutam Renu Kamvai Jamadagnir Uvanayam Sa She Satyavati Cha also Abhut became Sumahat Punya very great and sacred Kaushiki, the river by the name Kaushiki, Lokapavani, purifying the whole world, Renoho, of Renu, Sutang, the daughter, Renukam, by the name Renuka. Why, indeed, Jamadagnihi, Satyavati's son Jamadagni, Uvaha, married, Yam, whom? There is one more verse with this verse, 13th verse also. I'll read that verse by myself, then we'll recite the translation of both these verses together. The 13th verse. Tasyam vai bhargava rishe suta vasumad adayah yaviyan jagnya etesham rama ityabhivishutaha. So the most important part of these two verses is Yaviyam Jagnya Etesham Rama Ityabhivishutaha. The meaning is the youngest of the sons of Jamadagni was named Rama or Parshurama. He was born of Jamadagni and Renuka. The appearance of the incarnation Parshurama as the son of Jamadagni and Renuka. That's being described. Translation of these two verses by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Satyavati later became the sacred river Kaushiki to purify the entire world, and her son Jamadagni married Renuka, the daughter of Renu. By the semen of Jamadagni, many sons headed by Vasuman were born from the womb of Renuka. The youngest of them was named Rama or Parshurama. Please repeat this translation after me. Satyavati later became the sacred river Kaushiki to purify the entire world, and her son Jamadagni married Renuka, the daughter of Renu. By the semen of Jamadagni, many sons headed by Vasuman were born from the womb of Renuka. The youngest of them was named Rama or Parshurama. The next two verses I'll read by myself. Text 14. Yammahur vasudevamsham hayhayanam kulantakam trisapta krutvoya imam chakre nikshatriyam mahim. Translation. Learned scholars accept this Parshurama as the celebrated incarnation of Vasudeva, who annihilated the dynasty of Kartyavirya. Parshurama killed all the Kshatriyas on earth 21 times. Text 15. Driptam kshatram bhuvo bharam abrahmanyam aninashat rajastamo vritam ahan falgunyapi krute amhasi. Translation. When the royal dynasty, being excessively proud because of the material modes of passion and ignorance, became irreligious and ceased to care for the laws enacted by the Brahmanas, Parshurama killed them. Although their offense was not very severe, he killed them to lessen the burden of the world. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Kshatriyas or the ruling class must govern the world in accordance with the rules and regulations enacted by great Brahmanas and saintly persons. As soon as the ruling class becomes irresponsible in regard to the religious principles, it becomes a burden on the earth. As stated here, Rajastamo Vritam Bharam Abrahmanyam. When the ruling class is influenced by the lower modes of nature, namely ignorance and passion, it becomes a burden to the world and must then be annihilated by superior power. We actually see from modern history that monarchies have been abolished by various revolutions. But unfortunately, the monarchies have been abolished to establish the supremacy of third class and fourth class men. Although monarchies overpowered by the modes of passion and ignorance have been abolished in the world, the inhabitants of the world are still unhappy. For by taints of ignorance, these monarchs have been replaced by men of the mercantile and worker classes, whose qualities are even more degraded. When the government is actually guided by Brahmanas or God-conscious men, then there can be real happiness for the people. When the government is actually guided by Brahmanas or God-conscious men, then there can be real happiness for the people. Therefore, in previous times, when the ruling class was degraded to the modes of passion and ignorance, the Brahmanas, headed by such a Kshatriya spirited Brahmana as Parshurama, killed them 21 consecutive times. In Kali Yuga, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, 2nd chapter, 13th verse, Dasyu prayeshu rajasu, the ruling class, Rajanya, will be no better than plunderers, Dasyus, because the third class and fourth class men will monopolize the affairs of the government. Ignoring the religious principles and Brahminical rules and regulations, they will certainly try to plunder the riches of the citizens without consideration. As stated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 12.1.40, Asamskrita kriyahina rajasa tamasavritaha prajaste bhakshayishyanti mlecha rajanya rupinaha. Being unpurified, neglecting to discharge human duties properly, and being influenced by the modes of passion, rajas, and ignorance, tamas, unclean people, mlechas, posing as members of the government, rajanya rupinaha, will swallow the citizens, prajaste bhakshayishyanti. And in still another place, Srimad Bhagavatam 12.2, 7 and 8 says, Evam prajabhir dustabhir, Evam prajabhir dushtabhir आकीर्णे क्षितिमण्डले ब्रह्मवित् क्षत्रशूद्राणां यो बली भविता नृपः प्रजा हि लुब्धै राजन्यैर् निर्घृणैर् दस्युधर्मभिः आच्छिन्नदार द्रविणा यास्यन्ति गिरि काननम. Human society is naturally grouped into four divisions as stated in Bhagavad Gita. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. But if this system is neglected and the qualities and divisions of society are not considered, the result will be Brahmavit Kshatra Shudranam Yobali Bhavita Vipaha. The so-called caste system of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra will be meaningless. As a result, whoever somehow or other becomes powerful will be the king or president, and thus the prajas or citizens will be so harassed that they will give up hearth and home and will go to the forest. Yasyanti Girikananam. To escape harassment by government officials who have no mercy and are addicted to the ways of plunderers. Therefore, the prajas or the people in general must take to the Krishna consciousness movement, the Hare Krishna movement, which is the sound incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada is describing the Hare Krishna movement, this ISKCON movement or Krishna conscious movement, as the sound incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has now appeared as an incarnation by his holy name. Therefore, when the prajas become Krishna conscious, they can then expect a good government and a good society, a perfect life, and liberation from the bondage of material existence. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So there are many different points in these 4 verses, 12, 13, 14, 15. I will only discuss the 3 verses, 12, 13, 14. And this 15th verse we will discuss on Sunday. Because there are many points here. I will not be able to cover all the points in 15 minutes. The 12th verse is a continuation of the 11th verse. That Ruchika Muni, who prepared oblation for his wife and mother-in-law. There was some discrepancy that Satyavati's mother, that is Ruchika's mother-in-law, she thought that the preparation made for Ruchika's wife, Satyavati, must be better than the preparation made for her. So she exchanged her preparation with that which was made for her daughter. And she consumed that oblation which was prepared for someone else. This sage, Ruchika, he returned home and he could understand what had happened. The sages are all very, very powerful by dint of their tapasya. Even without being informed or doing an investigation, they can know what's happening by what we generally say as a sixth sense. This is the power of tapasya. By tapasya, one develops a special power by which one can know what is going on even without knowing or understanding through their senses or through their mind, etc. So this Ruchika Muni, when he came to know, he became angry. Now, it is not directly explained that what was the reason why Ruchika Muni became angry. But it is just said, mentioned here, that he made some remark to his wife, Satyavati, you have done a great wrong. So obviously Satyavati should have been shocked that something happened in his absence and he has figured out what has happened. And he's telling that is a mistake. What's the mistake? Your son will be a fierce Kshatriya, able to punish everyone. And your brother will be a learned scholar in spiritual science. So the preparation that was meant for Ruchika Muni's wife, was meant to generate a Brahman, somebody with Brahmanical quality, as a son of a great Muni or a sage. It is natural that such a great sage will have as a son a learned scholar, and that too learned scholar in spiritual science. Brahma Vittamaha, a very great scholar in spiritual science, Brahma Vidya. But now, because of the exchange, what's going to happen? The son born of Satyavati's mother will be a learned Brahmana. And the son born of Satyavati, Ruchika Muni's own son, will be a fierce Kshatriya. He had the power to punish all wrongdoers. So, Satyavati realized that a great mistake has happened. But being a very chaste wife, she was able to pacify her husband. This is the power of chastity. The power of chastity. Elsewhere it is said, chaste wife can even bring under control a husband who is even addicted to bad habits, or is misbehaving, or is not doing his duties properly as a husband. Simply by her chastity, a wife can bring her husband under control, can bring her husband to follow some basic principles, religious principles, can correct her husband. By what? By chastity. By chastity. Nowadays, people don't understand what is this chastity actually. They wrongly think chastity means simply being a slave, simply being somebody subservient. No, it is not just simply being subservient without any good reason. There is a power in that chastity. Just like the disciple of a spiritual master is very obedient to the instructions of the spiritual master, he becomes very, very powerful personality. Simply by being obedient to the spiritual master, he becomes very powerful personality. This point is not understood by modern day, low class, less intelligent, foolish people. They protest. And spoil everything. That is the gift of this glorious Vedic culture. They spoil everything. So here we can see the example of a chaste wife. She was able to pacify her husband, who had become very angry because of some mistake that happened. Not only that, she even requested her husband that let my son not be a fierce Kshatriya. And Richika Muni, he was able to make adjustment. Again, using his Brahmanical power. He said, your grandson will be of Kshatriya spirit, but your son will be having Brahmanical qualities. What she wanted? She wanted her son to have Brahmanical qualities. So as a result, it is described in the 12th verse that Satyavati herself later became the sacred river Kaushiki to purify the entire world. Loka Pavani. I think most of you are aware that when Kaveri enters the region of Srirangpatna, it branches off into 3 branches. Of course, the main river Kaveri flows as Kaveri only, but the other 2 tributaries, if I may use that word, or branches, become known as Lokapavani on one side of Kaveri, and on other side of Kaveri, that branch is called, what is that branch called? Paschimavahini. So this Lokapavani is flowing right near Mysore in Srirangpatna. That's how the islands are formed. Between these rivers, the islands are formed in Srirangpatna. Srirangpatna is actually an island. So, Satyavati became a river. This modern day people will scoff at it. What is this? Became a river. A person becoming a river. A woman becoming a river. So, river means the soul has assumed a form made of water. It's like this body that we have, which foolishly people think we are the body, is not our self. As persons, we are spiritual beings inside the body. The body is made up of the 5 elements. So, in some exceptional cases, the body may be made of just one element. It's like the form of the hill or the mountain. Made up of what? Mountain is made up of only one element, the earth element. Or river. Body of a river means the body is made up of one element, water. So what's the difficulty in understanding this? The body is made up of one or more of the 5 elements. So, the purpose behind becoming the river or assuming a water body, form of water body, is to purify the entire world. Loka Pavani. So all these are great personalities who are appearing in a very glorious dynasty. Satyavati is described earlier as the daughter of King Gadhi. So Gadhi is appearing in that great dynasty of Pururava, was the emperor of the world. So in that dynasty, Satyavati appeared as the daughter of King Gadhi. She was married to a great sage, Ruchika, and she was responsible for giving birth to the great sage Jamadagni. And Jamadagni's son was the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. That means Satyavati's grandson is actually the Supreme Lord's incarnation, Parshurama. Simply by having a grandson who is the incarnation of the Lord, they become completely purified. All the family members become completely purified of all reactions, material reactions, and they are delivered from this material existence automatically without any separate endeavor. But in addition to that, Satyavati, the grandmother of Parshurama, is herself a great personality. Is herself a great personality. So she became the river Kaushiki to purify the whole world. Such sacred rivers, anybody takes bath, drinks the water, or even because in our Vedic culture, people worship rivers. So worshipping, just taking a dip in the river, holy river, or just merely taking bath, even without knowing that the river is a sacred body of water, even without knowing that, simply taking bath or drinking that water, one can become purified and spiritually advanced. So this is a service she is rendering by becoming a river. That's why it is described here that Satyavati later became the sacred river Kaushiki to purify the entire world. This is the greatest service rendered. After finishing her life, completing her life as the wife of great sage, she is further doing service by becoming the river and purifying the entire world. Now Jamadagni, her son, married Renuka, and through Renuka he had many sons, of whom the youngest was named Rama. That's what the verse says. But Prabhupada explains that actually he is which Rama? There are 3 Ramas in the Dashavatara Stotra described as incarnations of the Supreme Lord. Parshurama, Kodandarama, Balarama. So he is Parshurama. He is the Parshurama incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So in the 14th verse, it is described, learned scholars accept this Parshurama as the celebrated incarnation of Vasudeva. Yam ahur Vasudeva amsham. An incarnation of Vasudeva. There are 2 kinds of incarnation, Amsha and Kala. That's mentioned in the 1st canto, 3rd chapter, 28th verse. Ete chamsha kala pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Amsha literally means a portion, but here Amsha is used in a different sense. He is not a plenary portion, but he is a empowered portion. He is called a Shaktyavesha Avatara. Later on it will be described. Parshurama is a Shaktyavesha Avatara. There are different kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Lord. So in this verse it just mentioned Vasudeva Amsham. He is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. And what all he did as an incarnation, Hayhayanam Kulantakam, he completely annihilated the dynasty of Hayhayas. Particularly, he killed one very proud and puffed up Kshatriya king of the Hayhaya dynasty called Kartyavirya Arjuna. Kartavirya Arjuna. He was extremely powerful. So that Kartavirya Arjuna was annihilated by Parshurama. Not only Kartavirya Arjuna, even his sons were all wiped out. The whole dynasty was destroyed. And not only that, Parshurama killed all the Kshatriyas on earth 21 times. He killed them all by going round the earth 21 times. Nikshatriyam Mahim Chakre. He made the earth completely devoid of Kshatriyas. Nikshatriyam. Why? That will be explained in the 15th verse. We'll see next class. Santara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.